The mission is simple: to help high achievers naturally eliminate emotional and physical obstacles so they can optimize their life for higher achievement. Welcome. You have just entered the Genesis Zone. Good day and welcome to the Genesis Zone show. This is Dr. Brian Brown. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule on this Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time to join us. We're so glad you're here. I don't take that for granted. Thank you. Have you ever felt blah or melancholy or maybe even depressed when you were dieting? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to reveal the one diet type that new research tells us can lead to depression. I'll also be discussing the gene hacking techniques I've found that work to combat this phenomenon. And I'll follow up with the latest research on genetics and exercise. Both of these studies came out recently. One of them came out in July. The other one came out pre-publication. It's not even out yet, really. It'll be out in November. So this is brand spanking new information, so stay tuned. Have you, having been over 390 pounds myself, I've experimented with a lot of diets. You name it, I've done it. There's hardly a diet I've not heard of. In fact, I mean, I was thinking the other day, or when I was writing this, it was like the cabbage soup diet. I remember the cabbage soup diet. I don't even think you can Google that and find anything about it anymore. But it's an old diet where you eat cabbage soup like 3 times during the day, and then you eat like a sensible meal at night, usually chicken and vegetables. But anyway, some of those diets that I tried worked. Many of them did not work, or if they did, quote unquote, work to cause weight loss, the weight didn't stay off. It just came right back on. Now, having profiled myself genetically in the past few years, I now know that I need a combination of a paleo and Mediterranean diet type with higher protein, lower fat, and a moderate amount of complex carbohydrates. Now, in the past 2 years, I experimented not so much with a diet, but more with a lifestyle change. Professionally, I had read for decades in my professional career about the benefits of vegan and vegetarian eating. So I wondered if I could find some paleo or Mediterranean guidelines for eating vegan or vegetarian. Sure enough, there's plenty of information about doing a paleo or Mediterranean vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. And over a 9-month period, I decided to take the dive headlong into it. Now, I'm never one to do anything halfway. I always go full force into something. I don't like easing into things. I think it just prolongs the pain. Just make the change and do it. So that's what I did with a vegan lifestyle. So over a 9-month period, for 4.5 months, I did strict vegan. And then for the last 4.5 months, I did strict vegetarian. And I use the word strict loosely because moving from vegan to vegetarian means you're less strict. You allow yourself to have some dairy and possibly even eggs and things like that. So different people define vegetarian differently, but I allowed myself to have some eggs. I allowed myself to have some dairy type protein in the form of yogurt and things like that. Here's what I learned. My body needs more than plant-based protein sources. But even the even bigger thing that I noticed was that I was more melancholy during those 9 months, whether I was on the vegan plan or the vegetarian plan. I think it was worse on the vegan plan than it was the vegetarian plan, this melancholy feeling. Now, I was not depressed. I've got 16 years with 9 different antidepressants worth of experience with that beast to know when it happens. I was simply more melancholy. I wasn't sure why, because I've been off of prescription antidepressants for 8 years now by implementing a highly specialized protocol based on my genetics. Then just this week, I found an article that's been, when I was researching for the show, I found this article that has been accepted for pre-publication in the Journal of Affective Disorders, and it'll be published in November of this year. So to say you're hearing this early is an understatement. It's several months early. And in this particular study that was published, the study looked at almost 50,000 participants. It was actually 49,889 participants. Of those 49,889 participants, 8,057 of them were vegetarians. The rest of them were non-vegetarians. They found that vegetarians showed significantly higher depression scores than non-vegetarians. Now, the problem with this is because this is a pre-publication, I don't have the full article yet. So I can't actually look at the structure of the study, which is critically important. I can't actually look at the specifics of how they define significantly higher depression scores, quote unquote. I'll keep an eye on this one when it comes out in November, and I'll report back to you what I think are any flaws in this study or strengths in this study, and let you know what I find out. But if I'm being completely honest, I see depression among my vegetarian and vegan lifestyle clients. With vegetarian and vegan lifestyle becoming more popular, I have a growing number of clients who fit into that category. The question then becomes, what do we do about this phenomenon? Well, the first thing I do is look at their genetics. I want to know what their level of methylation is. And this is critical. I'm not talking about the level of methylation that you get when you do a direct consumer type of genetic test like 23andMe. That only looks at one phase, two at most, and they're leaving the bulk of the phases of methylation out of the loop. I've had people show up and say, "Oh, I've already had 23andMe done. My methylation is fine." And I look at it, and sure enough, they don't have any issues with methylation on the 23andMe test. And then when I do our genetics and we look at all five, because we're looking at 16 different genes, and we look at all five phases of the methylation pathway, this person ends up with a lot of times a single digit methylation or low 2-digit methylation, 11, 12% they're methylating at. That's not good. It's not survivable. And people will tell you that, yeah, I do have brain fog. I have low energy. I have melancholy mood. I have anxiety, those types of things, whether they're vegan or vegetarian or not. So compound that with a vegan and vegetarian lifestyle where they're not getting red meat, where they can actually get those B vitamins and actually convert some of those into the methylated form. They're really behind the 8 ball. So we combine lifestyle with genetics, and we've got this epigenetic storm that puts a vegetarian or vegan at high risk for being depressed. Also, when I look at genetics, I want to look at their neurotransmitter genes. I want to look at the overall health of those. Which of those neurotransmitter genes are working for us? Which of them are working against us? Then I want to look at neuroinflammation genes. And then lastly, I want to look at their vitamin and mineral genetic profile to see how they assimilate the vitamins and minerals that they are taking in from their diet, and to see if they have any deficiencies, which are quite common among vegetarian and vegan people. In my experience, the answer for vegetarian and vegan related depression lies in these areas. Now, once you know which bad genetic switches are turned on and which good genetic switches are turned off, then we can develop a plan to correct those imbalances and get the bad switches cut off and get the good switches turned back on very quickly. In fact, I've had significant results with my vegetarian and vegan clients as soon as 3 weeks by simply naturally supporting the genes to function at their highest ability. Now, since we're on the subject of healthy lifestyle and diet, let's switch gears a little bit to exercise. And let me tell you about another study that just came out. Now, for years, research has proven that regular exercise reduces the incidence of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, neuropsychiatric conditions such as depression, anxiety, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. We even know that from a neuropsychiatric perspective, if a person starts incorporating exercise after they have one of these conditions, those conditions improve in their symptom profile. But here's the rub. Though the benefits of exercise have been known for decades, and we all know this, the exact mechanism was previously unknown. That is, until now. Here's what I've suspected for years that researchers at the University of Copenhagen have discovered and just published. They found that the well-published benefits of exercise appear to come from, you guessed it, epigenetic changes to the structure of your DNA. They specifically looked at sedentary study participants. They looked at young males. I wish they had included females in there, and I wish they had included a bigger strata of age ranges in there, but they looked at young sedentary males, and they took muscle tissue samples. By the way, that's really painful. They took muscle tissue samples at the beginning of the study, and they took more muscle tissue samples at the end of the 6 weeks when the study concluded. And during that 6-week time, these previously sedentary study participants, these young males, were instructed to follow an endurance exercise regimen program. And then they retested the muscle fibers. Here's what they found. They found that endurance exercise literally turned on the genetic switches in the skeletal muscle, which previous research has shown us will signal for positive changes in target organ systems such as the heart, brain, and endocrine systems. In the world of genetics, this is a pretty big deal, as you can imagine. And in my opinion, this will open the door for further genetic research in the areas of cancer, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and neuropsychiatric conditions. In the meantime, we need to keep doing our endurance exercise routines. What are endurance exercises? If you don't know, running is an endurance exercise, brisk walking. Now, I will tell you, it has to be brisk walking. It cannot be walking the dog for the sake of walking the dog. If you have a working type of dog, working dog meaning a dog that is bred to have a certain task, like German Shepherds are working dogs, golden retrievers, yellow labs, black labs. The bigger dogs typically are your working breed dogs. If you can walk your dog without having to stop all the time, and your dog's keeping up pace with you, then it's okay to do your brisk walking your dog. But if you're taking your dog out for a bathroom break, that can't be included in your walking. Okay. Someone listening to this podcast right now, I know because they're on here every week, they walk their dog, but they happen to live on a mountain, and they literally walk their dog up the mountain and back, and they spend about an hour doing that every day. That would be endurance exercise. Okay. Swimming is also an endurance exercise. Biking is an endurance exercise. Dancing is an endurance exercise. Stair climbing is an endurance exercise. Playing tennis, basketball, or this new thing that has come out of the military in the past 20 years, pickleball. Pickleball is just kind of a smaller form of tennis with a different type of racket. But those types of things are endurance exercises. If you want something that you can do at home very easily without having to have a gym membership, you can do those things. But here's another example of some things that you can do just from a muscle building endurance perspective. You want to warm up for about 60 seconds with jumping jacks. You can jog in place. That's fine too. But about 60 seconds of a warm up. And then you want to go into a plank position, hold that for 30 seconds. And then you want to do body weight squats. You want to do about 15 of those. Then if you've got some free weights, fine. If you don't, use a gallon jug of anything. If it's a gallon jug of water, that's fine. Fill it to the level where you feel like the weight is right, and do bicep curls with that. And you could do 15 reps of those. So planks for 30 seconds, body weight squats for 15 reps, bicep curls for 15 reps each arm, push-ups 15 reps, walking lunges, walking lunges for 15 reps, jogging in place for 30 seconds. And this completes one cycle. So do all of those straight through as best you can, and do this for 3 cycles, taking no longer than a 60-second break after completing each of those cycles before starting the next cycle. So hopefully that kind of gives you a broad overview of the news this week in the world of genetics. We got 2 big things here. One is that vegan and vegetarian people are predisposed to depression simply with the type of eating that they do. There's a lot of reasons for that. The authors in the study actually thought it had more to do with the lack of nutrients they were getting in their diet because they're not eating red meat. I think that partially has to do with it, but I also think it has to do with genetics because I see that clinically. And then the number 2 thing is we've now figured out the epigenetic link between exercise and the health benefits that exercise gives us, especially endurance exercise. So we need to do endurance exercise. If you're not doing endurance exercise, you need to start that now. I do, depending on my week, 3 to 5 days worth of endurance exercise throughout the week. And it's really important for your brain health, the cardiovascular health, your respiratory health, believe it or not, your skin health, your muscle health, everything. So start doing those things. And I outline that. If you missed it, go back and listen to it, and know that little routine that you can do every morning if you choose to do it. So if you're feeling like you're not operating at your highest and best performance level, physically, mentally, or you're curious about knowing your genetic results so you can get back to feeling great again, I'd love to talk to you. Reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook at Dr. Brian G. Brown and send me a message. I'll be glad to help you any way I can. Also, this fall, coming up really, really quickly in the next couple of months, I'm going to be launching another Gene Hack Boot Camp. Now you'll want to be on the waiting list for this because I'm going to limit spots to that boot camp again. To get placed on the waiting list, go to drbriangBrown.com/gene hack and follow the instructions there. Again, direct message me on Instagram or Facebook at Dr. Brian G. Brown, and go to drbriangBrown.com/gene hack to reserve your place in the upcoming boot camp. I can't tell you enough the feedback that we've got from the first boot camp and those that are currently enrolled in the Gene Hack Accelerator, which is the next step if you choose to take that step, where we actually do your genetic profiling and teach you how to interpret your own genes and how to live with your own genes and what all that means for you personally. If you're interested in any kind of way, it's really a good way to get your foot in the door and start understanding this world of genetics as it applies to you personally. This is not some generic program that says, okay, this is the 40,000 foot overview for everybody. No, this is very personalized just for you. So tune in next Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time for our next In the Zone segment, where I'll be sharing the latest research and my insights about that research as it relates to optimizing your physical and emotional wellness journey. Most informed, most trusted, and most grateful you spent this time with us today. Until next time, stay in the zone. I'm Dr. Brian Brown.